Hello and good day, ladies and gentlemen. This is Blue Knight 7, coming back after another long hiatus. I wanted to do an episode where I tried to catch things up here a little bit and just talk about things that have been going on with me to a certain extent, and talk a little bit about where I want to go, and also just kind of catch up, talking about a few things in my gaming life to an extent. But yes, I'm still here, still going. Cole-Ike, I'll try to make sure you know about that in a few minutes. But I had a chance to record today, so that's what I'm doing. And I don't know. I know my channel's small. I know I don't have much of a following. I appreciate the ones who have reached out and just asked if I was doing any more. It really, really means a whole lot. More than you know. I thank you. Because really all I do is get up here and ramble about the gaming world and maybe tech a little bit. But as far as where I've been, I'll just say I've had a few months where just trying to deal with some things in my personal life, mentally, trying to keep up the day job. Feel like I've had to put in extra mental energy just to keep the day job going, if that makes sense. And just haven't always been the best circumstances where just sitting down at the computer having time to record. I felt like all this past summer maybe I had some time to get some other things done, but just to sit at my desktop PC, not near as much as I normally would, just to get these recordings out. But I'm going to try to get a more regular schedule or system in place again, and just try to put out some content a little more regular, because I do enjoy doing this. It's just sort of been a summer where I've had to focus more on more pressing and practical things, like making sure the bills are paid, to be quite honest. But and dealing with some other, I'll just say, personal problems. But wanted to kind of catch up on a couple of topics of conversation that ongoing, or that I kind of expected to talk more about by now. First is to give sort of an update on my systems running Linux now. Still using Fedora. Still really like it. It's still I've kept it on. I even took my HP laptop and converted it from Windows 11 to Fedora as well. I've kind of gotten to where I'm getting used to it. I appreciate not having all the random Microsoft Copilot, needing a Microsoft account bull. I'm kind of, I feel like it's been better computing on my mental health when I do use a device. So I'm keeping it for now, and I'm going to keep running with it. I haven't had any major compatibility issues with the software I need or use. And I'm kind of learning open source software more. I've had a little bit of time to learn Krita a little bit, though I could have used Krita on a Windows system, I realize, and GIMP's on Windows. LibreOffice, a lot of open source usually has a Windows version. It's just people don't think to use them. But I'm kind of had a lot of time. What time I've had to have a computer was spent trying to get acquainted with programs I'm not as used to using, and it's been a pleasant experience overall. The state of open source is a lot better than it was, say, 10 years ago or 15 years ago. And I'm going to keep rolling with it. So that's been my update on that. As far as what I've been currently playing, I can filter it down to 4 games for you, but Mina the Hauler, I haven't been on it intense, but I have played it off and on since release, and I'm in the second area. I haven't gone far or fast in it, but man, such an excellent game. And if you haven't played it or tried it, it's worth your time. I'll just say that. If you like old school games at all, it is worth your time. I would describe it as a mix of Castlevania, top-down Zelda, with some Souls-like elements throughout. And all with a Game Boy Color motif. It really does feel like a one-of-a-kind game, which is harder to say than it used to be. But it does feel like a one-of-a-kind to me. And I've thoroughly enjoyed playing it so far. Now, my major release for me, and it's been kind of my game of the year so far. There's another I might put alongside it here for different reasons. But for me, my game of the year 2026 is Star Fox for Nintendo Switch 2. Now, I've had quite a bit of time to play it since its launch, thanks to the Teal Queen, my wife, for getting it for me for our wedding anniversary. But if you have a Switch 2, you owe it to yourself to get that game. Yes, it is a remake of Star Fox 64. The gameplay levels are generally unchanged from the 64 version. If you are experienced with Star Fox 64, a lot of the muscle memory will actually carry over, despite the graphics looking like a totally different game. But enemy placement, missions, everything, it feels like somehow they must have had access to original source code or something, because somehow the timings feel almost exactly the same. But it looks like a totally built from the ground up new experience. That being said, though, the two criticisms I would give it, because every game's going to have one, is one, it doesn't have a new level or a new sequence or area to experience in the campaign. If you've played Star Fox 64 to death, you do know what you're getting here. Except for updated graphics and a lot more time spent on cutscenes. There are more cutscenes, they're longer. To me, if you are a Star Fox 64 vet, that would be your reason to come back, because you are going to get more lore, more exposition, more of a story told to you as you traverse your chosen route across the map. That would be the main draw. More fully fleshed out lore, more fully fleshed out story, same great gameplay, and gorgeous graphics. This was a game that made me say, now this is definitely a Switch 2 game. Like, surely they couldn't have made this work on Switch 1. The multiplayer, I've spent some time on it. I've enjoyed my time on it. But my second criticism would be they need more maps. And I know I'm not the only one that said that. It needs more maps. Yeah, there's a lot of potential, but I think it could be a lot better if they had more maps, more mission variety, more objectives to do, just to spice it up a little more. The arenas are big, they're very replayable, but I can't help but think it could use another 3, or there's only 3 arenas, with each arena having its own signature objective for scoring points. And I feel like it would be a lot better if they changed to 3 and made it 6 or even 9. Just something to make it feel a little deeper as far as environments you can fly through and things you can do. The actual mechanics of it, the fundamentals, are very good. I just wish there was more content on the multiplayer side. And also, and this is one I started playing actually today. It's one where I had my backlog, and then I heard about the DLC, and I paid for it, and tried it out on my Switch 2 the first time today. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Splintered Fate. This has been a known game for a while. It started on Apple Arcade, actually, before it went to other platforms. But if you have a Switch or a Switch 2, it's available on both. There is an upgrade pack, whatever, to upgrade the visuals frame rate for Switch 2. But I had a lot of fun with it. I only played it on for maybe a couple hours today, but it's basically Hades with the Ninja Turtles, top-down, action RPG, a lot of roguelite elements. It is one of those where, yes, you'll die multiple times, and you're expected to die multiple times. Get temporary upgrades on your runs, and get, work towards earning permanent upgrades for future runs. And I know the type of play isn't for everybody, and I know I'm not like a big into that genre. But as far as the game itself goes, yeah, I've really enjoyed that. The Turtles universe for the game is based on the comics, as in the more recent IDW series of comics. So it's a little more serious, a little more gritty than, say, what you might watch on Nickelodeon. But it's been, so far, a pretty solid experience for me on that. But the game that I probably put the most hours in this year so far, and yeah, I admit I probably sunk too many when I should have been playing some others, but it's been worth my time, is Overwatch. Now, I know I spoke about it previously, that Blizzard has done a lot to revitalize Overwatch for the this year, the Reign of Talon story arc they've created for this year. They reset the seasons. They've dropped the Overwatch 2 off of the name that they never should have put on there. Renamed it back to Overwatch. And started the season numbering over as sort of a fresh start for the game. Added 5 new heroes back in February, and have been adding a hero every season since. Which we're on season 4 now. With BlizzCon next month, hoping to hear about the next 2 heroes that'll probably come in the next 2 seasons, and whatever else Overwatch related updates we may get, and just other Blizzard games. But as someone who kind of fell out of Overwatch and then got back in, it's been very good. The new heroes have been very good. The way they've tried to do seasonal events is much better than what they did in the past. For a game that was criticized a lot for having a ton of world building but never really seemed to have a plot going forward, or much of one, it does have a plot that goes forward now, and it goes forward with the seasons. And it has been very, very much better experience than it was. They're rolling out regular related content now, like comics, animated shorts, so on. They've done a whole lot to advance the lore in the past, I'll say, 6 months or so. It's been a big difference. So if you haven't played Overwatch in a while or ever wondered, I highly recommend trying it out now. It's free to play. There's loot boxes for skins. There's a shop where you can buy the skins outright. You can play and will earn a lot of loot boxes over time and just acquire skins that way. And to be real honest, this is a game where you don't really need all the store items and the cosmetics to play to enjoy the game. You play it to enjoy the gameplay. And I look at it as if you play normal and get some cool skins naturally along the way, great. I don't really spend a lot of money to get skins. I have spent some to get the battle pass for season 1 when it reset, because there is a battle pass you play through with the skins, but I've played it enough to where you actually earn enough in-game currency to buy a pass for the next season. And I've kind of just kept rolling that way. I could spend more to get some special skins, but nah, I'm not going to do that. So I've really enjoyed how that has went. The only other thing I'll say briefly, and I'll probably have more to say on it in the future, like the next recording I make, which may be in a few minutes. Obviously, the news has been dominated a lot lately with Sony, PlayStation. I've been shaking my head a lot as I get that news. I know this week was supposed to be the start of a major blackout strike for Sony. As someone who doesn't have a PlayStation, who doesn't really have a dog in that fight, I'll say a couple things. One is, I am for physical media in general, and I've had this will be a talk for another recording probably soon. But I've had a lot of reflections lately on just how important physical media is, and how we need to try to dig our heels in and try to fight to keep that in the market as much as we can. And we have something here where I do think Sony has made sort of a power grab to, at least as far as PlayStation is concerned, make it a digital only walled garden market. And part of it's greed, part of it's, I would argue, consumers' complacency by letting them drift to the point where they're trying to argue that with the numbers they can do this. But at the same time, it's completely on Sony in the end, because they're removing choices from the market when they could be finding a way to offer choices for physical Blu-rays and keep that going forward with PlayStation. Or, if for some reason they're not satisfied with Blu-ray, even try to come up with a better format. But they've kind of seemed to be making their decision. They seem to be dug in on it. I do think Grand Theft Auto 6 being a digital only release has kind of empowered them a bit here, or emboldened them to do this. And we're just going to see how it goes. I do think that the blackout this week, I question how effective it will be, because they kind of saw this coming. Like, this isn't surprising them. People, I'm sure anybody that's paying attention at all at Sony knew there was going to be a blackout this week, so they expected it. I am concerned that I can't help but be a little concerned that they're doing this blackout the same week Metal Gear Solid Collection Volume 2 comes out. Which I guess that would be something to give Sony attention, but I feel like this wasn't Konami's fault either, if that makes sense. So, just kind of hate that maybe Metal Gear might get a little shade on their sales over this. I do think an actual boycott or blackout over Sony and Grand Theft Auto 6 would be much more effective. Though I seriously question whether anybody would follow through with a blackout or a boycott on that. But that's kind of where we are. I hope that some kind of alternative means of getting Blu-rays on PlayStation 5 and getting games continued to be on Blu-ray for PlayStation 5, and hopefully there'll still be a physical media for PlayStation 6 in the future as possible. Though I wonder when PlayStation 6 is actually coming, and I'm not real optimistic about whether they'd want to offer physical media for that, and we'll see. I think Sony will get more of a rude awakening on that one than they think, but we'll just see how that goes. That'll be an interesting thing to keep watching, even for me. And that's coming from someone who has a Switch 2, who buys physical when he can, and not fond of game key cards, but kind of understands why we have them. And just for the record, I do think there are some games that are best released as a digital release, like Overwatch. It's constantly updating itself. It is a game as a service. There are some games where a full digital release just makes sense for that game. But especially when it's constantly being patched and updated, I mean, it just makes sense. And when the servers shut down, I mean, there is no game to play. So for them, I kind of understand it. But when you have single player campaigns to games being full digital release, I don't know. To me, it never really comes out sounding right or feeling right to me. But I'm sure we'll talk more about that soon. Want to talk a minute before I get off about this channel, what I'm doing with it, what I want to do going forward, like maybe what to expect, and just maybe a little bit about what's going on in my life a little bit. But without going into details I don't really want to share, and I don't feel like people really want to hear, that much. I have had a few years where my career life's just been dramatically changed. I was working in one industry and not really in it now. I don't really have a desire to go back into it now. I've been working sort of a temporary job it feels temporary to me while I'm trying to figure out what I'm doing with myself. And kind of still working on that. I'll just say, I still feel like a work in progress after over 10 years of working in another field. And I am working on transition to another field, but I'm just kind of this awkward in between where not there yet, still working this in between job. Just trying to make sure needs are took care of, you might say. But there is a part of me I didn't get to do in that prior job that I never really get to put out to the world, or never really got to do much with. And that was just going back to college. I was a government major, but I was an art double major. And did a lot of photography, did a lot of things like that. And I never really got to use that much in my work life. But I did a lot of drawing, I did a lot of photography, dabbled a lot in digital art. But I never really did anything with it, if that makes sense. And I would like to work with that a little more. So the whole point of all this is say I'm going to try to transition also. I'm doing these other jobs for security, but I'm going to try to just make life happier and just see if I can do some work, productive work as a creator. Now, part of that I think is keeping this channel going, because I do enjoy doing it, if only for an outlet. But as far as content on this channel, yes, I'm still going to talk about video games. I'm a gamer. That's important to me. I'm going to be doing that. But I may also include some content about more or less chronicling or documenting my journey to trying to be more productive as an artist or as a creator of art. And I may use this channel a little bit to try to promote that too. So yeah, you may see some things that have nothing to do with video games at all, but I hope you enjoyed that. And I'm still figuring out in my head exactly what that means or what that will be. But you may see me experiment a little bit on here is the point. I'm not going to worry about the algorithm. I'm just going to try to produce some content and hope people like it. I think in the end of the day, that's what you got to do. But also, as I do this, I'm going to look for ways to monetize it. That's why with this channel you may see some affiliate links. I may start playing around with that. Obviously I just want to grow the following a bit and monetize it that way. I may play around with streams a little bit too. Might be a good way to make some content and do it while I'm playing video games. So if you start seeing me streaming Overwatch or something like that on here, yeah, that may be something you see me do. And that's kind of biggest things I wanted to talk about. And it may just be me making some art pieces, selling them, and trying to use this channel along with my other combined social media to try to advertise or sell it a little bit, even while I'm talking about gaming and other things. Just, I guess what I'm trying to say is my core content, I don't want to change it, but you might see me add some things like that in, or just do some things to try to experiment on the edges. Might get a little more random sometimes of things I talk about and do, but I hope you stick around. I hope you enjoy it. I'm probably still going to keep calling these ramblings the Blue Nightcast. I'll probably still keep numbering them like I have, but I may change the look and design of things a little bit too as I play around with stuff, and we'll see where it goes. I've had a need lately to feel a little more creative. Like, I feel like I've spent many years of my life putting that on the shelf while I did more boring practical things that I was told you're supposed to do to take care of yourself and, you know, make your life secure and, you know, be an adult, right? But I don't feel like that has always been a successful thing for me. And even, I feel like I've had a few years where even if you tried to play by the rules and do everything the way you're supposed to do, it didn't work out the way it should have. And I guess you could say I've been trying to write a new rule book for me, or figure out which rule book is the one I need to be reading. And I guess that's the most important thing I wanted to say today. Like, I'm still sorting through that stuff. It's been kind of hard to get on here regular, but I'm going to try to get on here more regular. Won't keep putting out content, but as I'm sorting this stuff out, you may see some different content on here. I guess that's the biggest thing I wanted to say. And with that, I'll say that's the end of this episode of the Blue Knight Cast, number 43. Thank you very much for listening to me. Thank you for your time. Have a good day.